Calling the zoning hearing board for Lower Makefield Township for July 19th, 2022 to order. We have 5 members here today. 3 of them are online. Just passing that on so that it's a full board here. And we have 2 appeals to hear. So since we don't have any other things on the agenda, we'll start with Appeal 22-1971. You can come up and Mr. Feiger can read in the exhibits.
Good evening. We're going to mark the application as Exhibit A1, the site plans as A2, the impervious surface breakdown chart as A3. We're going to mark the proof of publication as B1, the proof of posting as B2, and the notice to the neighbors as B3.
Okay, so state your name and address and get sworn in. Into the microphone, please, because we have people online.
Manuel Butera, 15 Kenmore Road, Yardley, PA.
And you need to get your microphone too.
Sir, you solemnly swear the testimony about to give will be the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
So go ahead and explain what it is you're looking to do. And
Okay, well, I have a 1-car garage and it's pretty cluttered with snow blower and lawn equipment and all of that. And the wife wants to get the car in the garage for this winter. So I had no other choice, but I need a shed to be able to do that. So, yeah, happy wife, happy life, you know. Yeah. So that's why I'm asking for this appeal to be able to, I've looked into getting a shed. This is similar to what we're looking at. It's prefabricated. It's by the Amish. Pretty heavy duty. It's all made of, pressure treated 4x4s on the base and all 2x4s internal. So it's a 10x14 size. And it looks pretty much as this one is displayed.
so what we're concerned about are your variance requests.
Right.
So I believe your shed itself is in compliance with whatever permit you need to get for that. So our concern is what your variance requests are. So if you want to explain your reason, your variances.
Because I'm in a floodplain, so I need to be able to secure this. And in talking with the people that provide the shed, I asked them about doing pilings and being able to secure it that way. But they said because of the size and the weight of it, you'd have to put quite a few pilings in to give it a complete support, or else over time it'll sag. The structure is made with 4x4s across the bottom, and there are there's 5 of them that run the full length of the shed. So, we would, plan to, with the slab, to be able to provide the proper anchoring of that. And you'll have clearance of about 4 inches through the bottom of the shed. So it won't be sitting on the concrete slab, per se.
Okay. Questions from the board? Matt, you're mute. You need to be closer to your mic or unmute. Try again.
I think you need to get a little bit closer to the microphone. We can hear you now, but it's faint.
Well, do you want to try dialing in and going using your phone for audio? Okay, so we're gonna wait for a minute here.
Is the variance for impervious surface or for flood restrictions?
It's for both. The impervious surface that's allowed in this area, which is the RRP Residential Resource Protection Zoning District, is 13%. Obviously, the house itself is already over that, along with the driveway. And I believe they're now requesting to go to 17.51. When this was previously the R2 zoning district, 18% is what would have been allowed.
The existing 16.9. It's in the calcs there.
Okay.
Jim, what's the elevation where this is at compared to the 100-year flood elevation?
It looks like it's only about 1 foot into the floodplain or less. So it's a very small encroachment into the 100-year floodplain. And I could even share my screen. You can see where it sat in the 1955 flood. I have the aerial photo up, and this is right on the edge. This house was built in 1956, a year after the flood. And right where my cursor is, this vacant lot is where the house is. And you can see the slightly lighter colored area is the water. The water came just onto this road. So it barely touched this area in the 1955 flood, which was approximately the 100-year flood.
Is Matt coming on back there yet? Any call?
So in the 100-year flood, most likely this shed would not have even moved on its own.
The water would just touch it by less than a foot of water.
Okay.
Jim, just out of curiosity, considering 1955, most of Lower Makefield was not developed. Do you think with all of the development, that flood area would have been greater because of runoff going down towards the river or not? I mean, this is a little beyond my wheelhouse.
In 2012, FEMA did an updated flood study of the entire Delaware River. And at that time, they remapped the floodplains using more updated hydrology and hydraulics. And also they used more updated contours. So the flood lines were more accurate. And in Lower Makefield, the change was pretty drastic in spots compared to what it was in the prior mapping that was done in 1999. In the northern part of the township, and this is just a historical background, not directly related to his property, but in the northern part of the town, the flood elevation actually dropped by up to 2 feet. Then as you go down into Yardley and then to Black Rock Road, it was virtually the same right at Black Rock Road. And as you go further south, then the flood elevation crept up a little bit. So this area is just slightly higher than what it was in the prior mapping based on updated flood study information.
Thank you.
And we have Matt back. So
I'm back. How you guys doing?
we're doing fine and we can hear you.
All right, excellent. I don't know, for some reason my laptop likes to give me a hard time. Not sure if this was asked, but I'm just curious if we're going to put flood vents in the structure so we don't end up with any issues with flooding in that area.
I don't believe that that's proposed by you, by the applicant.
I'm not sure what you mean by that, the flood vents.
A flood vent is where they actually put an opening in the shed. And they typically have what's called a flood vent, and that would allow water to pass through in the event of a flood. So it has a little float type system in it that when the water rises up, it then opens up the opening and water can pass through.
Yeah, I wasn't asking for that.
Right.
Yeah, the point is that that's something that's done with buildings to make them more compliant in the floodplain. That's why Matt was bringing it up. So it wasn't you're asking to do it. We're bringing up that it's being brought up as a question because it's something that's done to mitigate in the flood area.
I had a thought, I was sitting here, to raise the shed even a little bit higher. If I were, whoever puts in the cement slab, actually sistered up another 4x4 for each one of those. So now it's 8 inches above the cement floor. And then that all could be anchored together.
Well, I mean, you have 4x4s as for your deck, right?
Yeah, that's the structure.
Okay.
There's
And
5 of
those
them.
Right. How many? What are they? 2 foot on center?
No, there's 5 of them. I'm sorry, 5 of them. So there's one going down the center, and then they're spaced a couple feet apart from the end and the just right from the end. So you've got 5 across the full length of the 14 foot.
Okay, and that supports the deck of the. I mean, that supports the deck of your shed.
That's
You don't
correct.
need any other support other than that.
That is
So
correct. Right.
Why not just put sonotubes at either ends of those 4x4s? You don't have to. You can save yourself some money, not put in a slab. Put sonotubes to, I don't know, 3 foot depth, whatever. Frost line is what, 30 inches around here. So, put in a 8 to 12 inch sonotube, save yourself some money in concrete. You don't have to worry about impervious as nearly as much, and you can keep. I don't know what the flood elevation is, Jim. Can you help out here? Is it 1 or 2 feet above grade, or?
It's approximately 1 foot above grade.
So keep your shed a foot above the flood, so that you don't have to worry about that. Put some sonotubes in so it's supported, and give yourself a little ramp into it.
Are you talking about pilings?
No, I'm talking about 12-inch diameter, 3 foot tall concrete tubes that go down to your frost, so you don't have to worry about it.
Like
It is
fence.
sort of like a concrete piling.
Yeah.
Like a fence post footer.
Right, because I approached that with the manufacturer, and they said that you'd have to put quite a few in because this is not a light shed. It's quite a bit of a structure, and over time it's going to sag. So I'd have to put not only 4, but probably 12 of these in place. So I don't know that.
I don't see that as many. I mean, it's a small structure. You can have your contractor rent an auger, put everything in less than a day.
Yeah, I'm not worried about the cost of that. I'm worried about the support part of that. If the manufacturer is telling me that it could sag, I would really have to put in, like you say, probably about 12 or so of these supports.
Okay.
I don't know that there's a.
I think to put one thing out here, and Jim can correct me if I'm wrong, but if you were actually to do that and set them so the top of those posts was a foot above grade, I believe that eliminates the need for any variance.
Okay.
Because you
agree.
would have your impervious area would not change, and you would not be obstructing the flow of water.
Right. So I'd have to have that, so it's 12 inches above the ground level.
Yeah, that's what Jim said.
Right.
We
Can I make a
verify that.
suggestion? If this is something the board's considering, because I'm here to participate on behalf of the township, maybe it would be best for Mr. Butera to further investigate
Hmm.
possibility of doing the installation of the concrete pilings. And while he's doing that, have this carried for a week, to the next board meeting or whatever. If it turns out that you can do the concrete pilings and keep it raised a foot above grade, then you can withdraw the petition and not need to come back. If you can't do the concrete pilings, then you just come back to the board at the next hearing, explain what you learned, and continue with your request for variances.
And the other question I would have as an alternative, you're talking about these flood vents. So is that something that you said would have to be on what, one end to the other, or is it on all four sides?
You got to do them on at least two sides.
Two sides?
The upstream and the downstream side. But that wouldn't be necessary if you elevated the shed.
Right. No, I'm just saying if I put the flood vents in, I wouldn't have to do that. Right,
Right, that alleviates the flood concern, yes.
right.
I mean, if you put in sonotube support, you're going to use less than a yard of concrete. If you put in your slab that you're talking about, you're using about 4 yards of concrete.
Mhm.
So it's cheaper in material. Your contractor might have to do a little bit more work, but it's an auger, and it's still at the end of the day
Right.
going to be the same or less expensive. And then you also get rid of your variances.
All right. I think I'll go with that. I'll put in the pilings.
And-
Such.
Okay, now what the Barbara, the township solicitor, was suggesting is that we could continue this and not, so that you can take a look at this and then make a decision. And then if you wanted to come back and talk to us again, because it's continued, you could come back. If you want to keep that option
I'll go
available.
with that. I'll do it.
You're just gonna do
Yeah, just put in-
sonotubes? Okay.
I'll check with the people, what the amount of pilings I've got to put in, and I'll just do it.
So what I was going to say, Mr. Buteri, before, and I don't want to sway you in any way,
Sure.
but rather than make a decision and say, look, I'm going to do it that way, and then you run into a problem only to find out you have to come back to the board for relief, why don't you ask for a continuance?
Continuance.
Talk to the manufacturer to see if this is a doable thing for you realistically. And if you can do it, then you can notify Mr. Majewski that you're withdrawing your application and proceeding with the concrete pilings.
Okay, I understand. All right, then I'll
Yeah,
ask for a
I
continuance.
agree completely with Barbara. I mean, in fairness to you, Manny, I'm more than happy to continue it so you can figure stuff out. And, a 30-day continuance, you can easily just call them, Jim, go, no, it's not working out. I need to come back, or, it worked out. I'm just going to withdraw.
Okay. All right, I'll do that. I'll ask for a continuance and I'll investigate
Okay.
that further.
Now-
with the manufacturer.
Yeah, speaking of that, in our upcoming schedule, I believe we're only having one meeting in August.
Currently, that is the projected schedule. I think there's still a day or two left to maybe have an August meeting, but I think that second one in August, I believe there is nothing on the agenda.
Okay, so would you be okay if we proposed a continuance to the first meeting in September?
But we do have the first meeting in August.
Yeah, I mean, you'd have to, within the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, I'll
You're fine with
get
that?
on this, and I should know probably within the next 2 weeks.
Okay.
And if I may note, two things, I just have to double check, but I believe they would still need the variance for the impervious surface.
With the sonotubes, you would have, it'd be like a deck at that point. You'd have your area underneath, correct?
We don't look at it that way, though.
Even though you still have the ground.
Right.
Mr.
Because
Majewski,
then theoretically, someone could just cover their entire yard with a shed and say it's on sonotubes, so I'm not impervious surface. So it doesn't absorb water. I mean, water can pass underneath it for stormwater management. It's good, but it does cover the ground.
Can we make
So you will have to
make
have
a
a variance
recommendation on
then.
that?
But would the calculations change based upon the area covered by the pilings versus the entirety of the shed? Mr. Majewski?
Well, the shed is still covering the ground, so water has to go off the shed, go down and somehow migrate underneath the shed to get in the ground. So you're losing area that water can't fall to the ground and pass through. Now, from a stormwater management perspective, it's better to have it elevated because water does have a little bit of a capability to be absorbed.
So you would have to come back.
Okay, so
Yeah,
I get the
can we
okay from-
bifurcate this for them? Is there a way to do that?
What do you say?
Go ahead, Matt. It's less than 1% increase for the property. by
Right,
the
but
way.
is there a way to bifurcate his variance request? Can we rule on the impervious surface and hold up on, this is a question for Randy, and hold up on the flood?
Yeah, we could do that. You can divide it up, 'cause it's a separate issue. So whatever the board's pleasure. I don't know if the township has a position on that, but,
No.
okay.
I was about to ask for Barb's opinion because she said.
I think the issue mostly is because it's within that area of the floodplain, and I was going to ask Mr. Butera, does the entire property sit within your flood, in the floodplain?
I assume so, although, I mean, I know history from one of the neighbors that had been there back during that flood. He says the water never came up to the house. So,
The reason I'm asking is, looking at your plan, you show this, the shed being in what I'm going to call the upper right corner of the property.
right.
Is the back portion of the property in the floodplain, the side portion? I was wondering if you move the shed to a different location, will it sit outside the floodplain?
I think, Jim, do you have the floodplain mapping here now?
Yes, up on your screen, you can see the floodplain mapping. The darker purple is the limit of the 100-year floodplain. The property is right here
Okay, so it
at
would,
the intersection, so the property is entirely in the floodplain.
Yeah.
And the location Mr. Butera has selected probably is the best, well, actually, probably the only location he could put it without requiring other variances.
I have no other comment other than the township was concerned about it being in a floodplain and the free movement of water.
Okay, we'll entertain motions, I guess, at this point.
Can I say one thing?
Go ahead.
So you understand, the granting of a variance may result increased premiums for flood insurance. That's just so you know, we're just putting on notice. That's, okay,
Now,
just so you know. I know you are, but I'm just saying, putting a structure there your insurance company may further raise your rates. And I just,
that's fine.
you should be aware of that. Okay, thank you.
A question, Ms. Flager, is this two separate motions or one motion that covers both?
Well, depends what was the motion going to be? Which one are we, what is the proposed motion?
Well, I'd like to make a motion to bifurcate the board's ruling on appeal 22-1971, where we address impervious surface coverage at this hearing and postpone the flood to a continuance.
He was making a motion to bifurcate this appeal 22-1971 to address the variance for the impervious surface at this point and to continue the floodplain variance to the next meeting.
That's fine. That's fine. Yeah, you can do that.
Is there any concern about the impervious surface increase from the board? It's less than 1%.
So well, it's less than 1%. So I would like to see a couple of trees planted in place. I don't think a large sale system is warranted for such a small amount.
So you're proposing to grant this if he plants a couple of trees? Is that your motion?
Correct. I mean, my motion would be to grant the variance for impervious surface, subject to trees being planted, subject to review and approval by the town engineer.
I currently
the
have, I currently have a row of arborvitae on that borderline. So
Yeah,
at
but you're
least-
adding impervious surface, so you're taking credit for something you already have. So we'd like to see something added to mitigate what you're adding. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I put another, one or two trees, is that?
That's probably what it would be. Yes, although Jim can provide more clarity on that. On something larger than a 1% increase, which was more than what you're asking for, we'd ask for a more permanent solution. But because they're asking for a relatively small amount, we're willing to look at like trees as a solution for the extra runoff.
Well, I was planning on putting another tree once we got the shed in there, so,
Well, there you go.
yeah, no
So
problem.
there you go.
All right.
You
And
want this more formal or?
yeah, I think we just need a second now.
Second.
All right. Any comment? All right. So all those in favor of. All right. All opposed? All right. Motion carries.
The date for the next,
Oh, that's right. We would need to set the date for the continuance to the August 2nd meeting.
Second.
So that's your variance for we just approved the variance for the stormwater. So now we need a motion for the continuance on the floodplain.
And it may be that it may not be necessary
Mhm.
in our discussions, and then you'll just be able to proceed. If you do have to come back for the variance in the floodplain, then you'll come back in 2 weeks, and then we'll work through that.
Okay, so if I come back and tell you that I've worked it out to be able to do the pilings, then that takes care of it.
Yep.
Yes.
So I'll entertain a motion on that portion of the variance.
I'll make a motion to for P2-1971 continued to August 2nd.
For the floodplain variance for
For the floodplain,
floodplain
correct.
grounds.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, we're done.
Mr. Butera, by the way, they're called sonotubes if you want to Google them.
Anna?
Sonotubes. It's
Yeah.
SONA.
Okay,
SONO.
got it. All right.
SONO.
SONOTUBE, and the size you're looking at, you can get them at Home Depot.
All right.
Yeah.
Might want to add, your staff has been very supportive in getting the application through the,
I believe they would appreciate that. You hear that, Jim?
I will relay that to my staff, and
great,
they enjoyed working with you also.
thank you.
everybody, I am going to be leaving you. I don't need to participate in the next matter, so. Yep,
No
nice
fair,
seeing
Bob.
you.
You need,
Are you here for the next appeal? Okay.
Could be online.
Are they online?
Yes.
There they are. He just raised his finger. They're online. We have signals.
Yeah, I did speak to the applicant. The applicant's overseas, but they did have a representative that will speak on his behalf.
Okay. We'll hear appeal 22-1972. Mr. Flagel will read in the exhibits.
Yeah, yes, Mr. Chairman. On appeal number 22-1972 for 1009 University Drive, Stephen McGurty. We're going to mark the application as Exhibit A1. We're going to mark site plans as A2. Wasn't. Should I start over?
Yes.
Sorry about that. My mic was off. On appeal number 22-1972, Stephen McGurty on 1009 University Drive. We're going to mark the application as Exhibit A1, the site plans as Exhibit A2, the impervious surface breakdown chart as Exhibit A3, the stormwater management small project volume control sheet as Exhibit A4. We're also going to mark the proof of publication as B1, the proof of posting as B2, and the notice to the neighbors as B3, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. So if the applicant can be sworn in now, so state your name and address.
My name is David Lisanti, and I'm here representing the applicant, Stephen McGurty. Do you still want my address, or would you like Stephen's?
Yes. Sure. Yes.
Stephen's address is 1009 University Drive, Yardley, PA.
Oh, that's the appellant's address. I was asking about yours.
My address is 2768 Old Cedar Grove Road in Broomall, PA, 19008.
Okay.
Sir, do you solemnly swear the testimony about to give will be the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Sir, could you repeat your name and spell your last name for me, please?
David Lisanti, Lisanti.
Thank you.
Okay, so if you want to explain what the plan is here and what the variance request is, and how you're
Sure, so
related to this project. Yes.
Yes, that's how I wanted to start. I'm helping Stephen. I prepared the site plan or the site improvements plan that you're looking at. Unfortunately, as you mentioned, Stephen had a work meeting outside this country, so he's not able to join us even by video. So I offered to represent him. What they're proposing is a new pool with a paver patio, a deck, and a little pavilion area. They are removing a significant amount of impervious. So they're removing about 1,100 square foot of existing impervious, proposing about 1,500 square foot. The net is about a positive 400 square foot that they're adding. As you can see, if you didn't notice on the site plan, sort of in the middle upper right area, there's a demolition detail. So if you're curious how much impervious or where they were removing it, you could see that it's right within the footprint of the new project. So they'll be removing that. They're in a newer neighborhood built within the last 10 years. It has communal stormwater management for the neighborhood. As far as we know, that there's no on-site stormwater management, and so we are proposing to meet the township's code requirements by using an underground seepage bed on the backside of the pool. And what we're here for today is variance for impervious cover. So they currently sit at 20, if you want to use percentages instead of ratios, the percentage is 20.6, and the impervious maximum for this neighborhood is 21%. So they're currently conforming. So because of they were so close to the maximum, adding any cover put them over. So they're going to be at 21.9% based on the proposed conditions. So the project itself meets all other requirements of the zoning ordinance as far as we know. So no other variances are being requested.
Okay. Question for Jim here. Does the proposed infiltration mitigate it back to the 20.6%?
Correct.
Okay. Any other questions from the board?
I have no questions. I do want to thank you for removing existing impervious to make up some of this. Very rarely does that happen.
Yep. If anybody wants any pavers, line up, because they got a lot of them to give out. I don't know what they do with these pavers, but you can't be throwing them in a garbage can. So I don't know what they do with them. They probably power wash them and resell them, I'm sure.
Probably right.
Yeah.
I know a lot of sites, they just grind them up and use them as a 1.5 inch minus, but
Is that right? Oh, wow.
Yep.
Any other questions from the board?
No, that's good.
Okay, I forgot the last time, but I don't think there was anybody online. Oh, we do have somebody online this time. We've been flagged the last time.
Is that me? Am I up? Public comment?
yes.
Oh. Okay. Can you state your name and address and then be sworn in?
I'm assuming you're speaking to me. My name is Christine Tentalucci. My address is 1014 Lafayette Drive.
Ma'am, do you solemnly swear the testimony about to give will be the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Ma'am, could you say your name again, the last name and spell for me, please?
Tentalucci, T as in Tom, Entilucci.
Thank you.
Okay, go ahead and ask your question or state your comment.
Okay, I do have a question. So I live in the property behind 1009 University Drive, and I didn't see an image of the site plan for the pool. I'm just wondering if it's going to encroach at all on the buffer that's supposed to remain between the properties.
It will not. So I'm sorry. Did you want me to answer that? I'm sorry.
No, you can certainly answer it, but I was going to ask Jim to pull it up so she could see it online. You could certainly explain it now then, Mr. Lasante.
Okay. They have you're correct that there is a vegetation buffer. It's variable width on his property. So you could see your property, your name is actually on there in the corner. Yep. So you're right there.
Yep.
So at that point, you can see there's a dash line that they're pointing to with the cursor. It's labeled a 25-foot wide vegetation buffer, and there it's a 50-foot wide vegetation buffer.
Right.
The project will not be encroaching on it. In fact, it's staying within the existing fence work that is serving as like a perimeter to the buffer.
Yeah.
So the buffer will remain intact.
Okay, great. That looks great. It was my only question. Thank you for explaining that.
No problem at all.
Assuming there's no other comment, I guess we'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve appeal number 22-1972 as presented tonight.
Second.
Do we want to add the typical language regarding the stormwater management system to be as reviewed and approved by the township?
Yes, please.
Let's try this again. I make a motion to approve appeal number 22-1972 as presented tonight, contingent upon the stormwater management mitigation being approved by the township engineer.
My second.
Any other comment? All right, hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
It's clean.
Okay. It's passed. So
Thank you.
you're welcome. And I guess pass the
Thanks,
message along.
When's the pool party?
You didn't get your mic off. All right, so our next meeting will be August 2nd, and I don't believe there's any other business, but I'll look over at Jim.
No other business.
Okay. Does anybody want to make a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So we didn't make him work for his money enough. Passed. Everybody can go home now.